So this is a supplementary lecture to lesson 3 of the class series on the Four Great Vows. There are going to be 4 classes in total, 4 lessons. I just did the third one on Saturday. Today is Tuesday, and I'm making I just wanted to go over a few things, some things in more depth, add a few things that I think are good to add. Um, these are the, let me put it into, let's see, yeah, let me put it into the presentation mode, and we're looking at we're going to talk some more first about chanting the Four Great Vows. Then we're going to look at the way in which the same character can appear in different shapes. Then we're going to talk about Bodhidharma, of all people. Then we're going to talk some more about the way characters can appear in different shapes, different forms. Then we'll do some detective work. This should become clear. Then we'll talk some more about the extra characters that are assigned for this lesson, and then we'll end with looking at the Lotus Sutra a little bit. Now, chanting the Four Great Vows in Sino-Korean. So, chanting the Four Great Vows in Sino-Korean means that you are using the Korean pronunciation for the characters. Still chanting the same Four Great Vows that we are studying right now, but you're pronouncing each character the way that Korean Buddhists pronounce those characters, which is not the same way that a native Chinese speaker would pronounce the characters. It's also different from the way Japanese Buddhists pronounce the characters, and it's different from the way that Vietnamese Buddhists pronounce the characters. It's probably different from the way that Cantonese Buddhists pronounce the character, because most of the time when I'm saying Chinese, I'm assuming that we're talking about Mandarin, but there are actually different variations of even within the Chinese language itself. There's more than one language that people can refer to as Chinese, just to make things interesting, Hey, so we are looking at, this is somewhat similar to what was already presented in the third lesson. This slide is a little bit different. It groups the characters more clearly into the 4-part pattern that we've talked about. But before we get into the 4-part pattern only applies to the individual vows. The title is Four Great Vows. That's the title of the Four Great Vows. When it's chanted, often you will say first, I am, basically you're saying I'm vowing the 4 great vows, or I'm making the 4 great vows, or I'm taking the 4 great vows. And the Chinese character for that is here. This is actually will be assigned in next month's lesson as part of one of the extra characters. For now, we'll just look at the Sino-Korean pronunciation of this, which is Baal. So the Sino-Korean pronunciation for the character 4 is Sa. The Sino-Korean pronunciation for the character that means great in 4 great vows is Hong. And this will repeat in each of the vows. The Sino-Korean pronunciation for the 2-character combination that makes up the word for vow is Sawon. So the title, I am now making or taking the 4 great vows, Baal Song Sowon. Baal Song Sowon. And then you say the 4 vows themselves, one after the other. The first 2 characters in each vow is what the vow is about. Next 2 characters is something that the thing just mentioned doesn't have. For example, Jungsang is how in Sino-Korean you say sentient beings. Sentient beings have no limit. We vow to save them. Jungseng Mubyon Sowon Do. The kleshas, the afflictions, have no end. We vow, or I vow, to eliminate them. Bone Mujin Sowon Dan. Dharma gates are without number, cannot be numbered. We vow to learn them. Bomun Muryang Sowon Hak. The Buddha way, there is nothing greater than it. There's nothing above it. We vow to attain it. Bulto Musang Sowon Song. Now, up here you might notice there is a URL. Starts with HTTPS. Oh, it's something at YouTube. Must be a YouTube video. And it has this timestamp stuck on the end of it. So this is a YouTube video of some people chanting the Thousand Hands and Eyes Sutra, which, as I mentioned in the lecture, includes the Four Great Vows. So now I'm going to change gears a little bit here. And let's see, bring this forward. Here we go. And here is the, if you click on that link, or if you copy it and paste it into your browser, then you will end up at this point in the video of people chanting. I'm one of the people who's chanting it, by the way. This is happening at the Rockville Zendo back in the year 2017. So that was Bao Song Soan, if you can make it out. The sound quality isn't great. Next is Jungseng Mubyon Soan Do. And now, and I've turned the volume up and slowed it down to 75% speed. The next line is Bone Mujin Soan Dan. And the next line is Bomun Muryang Soan Hak. And the last vow, the fourth vow, is Bulto Musang Soan Song. All right. Now I'm going to do that one more time. Bao Song Soan. So if you know that chant, you know that there's a lot of stuff that comes before it and a lot that comes after it. This is one of the wonderful things about the Thousand Hands and Eyes Sutra. It has a bunch of things all packed into it. But the link will be in the slides for the supplementary lecture. And I would encourage you to go to that video. It's on YouTube and listen to that, or listen to the whole thing. And if you do a search on YouTube, you can find other renditions of the Thousand Hands and Eyes Sutra that might be superior in their quality, but they won't have a direct link to this part. But you can search and find it yourself in those other videos. Anyway, all right. So now let's go back into presentation mode, and that's the chanting part of this supplementary lecture. Let's just do it one more time. Bao Song Soan, Jungseng Mubyon Soan Do, Bone Mujin Soan Dan, Bomun Muryang Soan Hak, Bulto Musang Soan Song. All right. Now, as I mentioned before, I want to talk some in this supplementary video about the fact that characters don't always look the same. this happens in English. A capital A and a lowercase a don't look the same. A Letters when they're printed versus when they're written cursive don't necessarily look the same, but we recognize that they're the same. The same means that they have the same sound and they have the same meaning or significance. If you change a lowercase a to a capital A, it's still the same word. Um, so in Chinese, uh, the same character can appear differently. Now, in this particular case, I'm focusing on the fact that the component form of this character, so this is in each of these squares, is a different instance of the character U for brush. Now, the first instance here is as the component U appears in the character Jin, which means end, which is what the kleshas do not have. Kleshas without end. I vow to, and one of the ways of translating that is kleshas without end. I vow to end them. But there's two different words for end that are used there. Um, one means they don't have an end. The other means I will put them to an end, um, eliminate them. Anyway, yeah. So Jin has as one of its components Yu, brush. The second component is Huo, fire. And then the third component down here is, I think maybe it's Min. I should look that up, but I forget what the opinion for this one is. But this means plate or vessel. And you put them together, and they make up a Jin. And this is the character Yu as it appears on its own as a character. This is a different component form of Yu in the word for book, which is shu, which is what you get when you stack Yu on top of the word for speak or say. So as a book means speaking with a brush. And finally, there is Tang, which is the name of a very famous dynasty in China, usually thought of as the golden age of China in the Tang dynasty. And this is composed of three parts. The Guang character, which means vast. Here's Yu again. And here is Ko, or mouth, down at the bottom. All right. But in each of these three instances, the character or component Yu looks different. All right. Now I said we were going to talk about Bodhidharma. But since in the last slide we mentioned this component of the character for book, right? And so one of the extra characters that's assigned for this month is this character Yue, and Yue is a character that shows up a lot in any sort of a dialogue, and this is the famous dialogue between Bodhidharma and the Emperor and Emperor Wu of Liang. All right. So in this slide, different characters. Some characters have different colors. Some characters are not colored. The character for Yue is colored in green. All other characters that are included in the characters that we're learning in the Four Great Vows class series are highlighted in yellow. The blue characters, and this will be, I'll explain this more in the next slide. The blue characters are Bodhidharma's name, and the purple characters are just the word for emperor. Let's see. Yeah, let's go to the next slide now. This is again the same dialogue. So this is a dialogue which begins with, here we see emperor. This character ask, which we will actually cover next month. That will be one of the extra characters next month. The emperor asks Bodhidharma. So word for emperor, character for emperor is here, highlighted in magenta purple, which is D. All the characters that are highlighted in yellow are from the Four Great Vows class series, except for Yue, which is highlighted green. The name of Bodhidharma, which is Damo, these two characters, and that is highlighted in blue. And additionally, sometimes uh, a two-character combination is used in this dialogue to say respond or answer. So instead of just saying say, sometimes it says the response was. So sometimes, well, anyway, I think that's enough on that. I just wanted to highlight that the characters that we're learning in this class series, you can pick some of them out in this famous Zen story about Bodhidharma meeting the Emperor of Liang. And uh, even in many of the characters that are not covered in this class series, you can recognize components. You can see open squares. You can see squares with things inside them, which we know are ko for mouth when there's a square that's open, or wei for circle when you have a square with something inside of it. And many other components you can recognize if you look. All right, and this is just if you were looking at this dialogue and the only character that you knew was this green character Wei, which means said, and you knew this was supposed to be some sort of a dialogue, well, you might guess it looks like there's two people talking to each other. One goes by these two characters, and the other one goes by this character. And so if you were to go and then do a Google image search on first two characters, you would see the characters that are highlighted in blue. You would see that they are Bodhidharma. You might recognize Bodhidharma there. And if you were to do a Google image search on this character that is highlighted in what color is that? Purple. It's definitely purplish. You would see that. Well, let's see. Let's not focus on the character. Let's focus on what you see, which is pictures of emperors of China. All right. Now, once again, I want to talk about how the same character can have different shapes. And this is a slightly more subtle instance of that phenomenon where both of these characters that are pictured here are the same character, Duan. Duan, which is what we vow to do to the afflictions. We vow to Duan them, which means to sever them, cut them off, eliminate them, get rid of them. So, and you might have to look at this just to see the difference. The difference is kind of right here. So in the main video for this class, I gave this decomposition for the left component of Duan, which is G. So Duan is made up of two components, G and Jin. Jin is the right component, which is axe. And it looks pretty much the same in these two calligraphies that I just found by Googling. This decomposition of G just has, and if we look down here, we see two yaos make a yo. So two smalls make a very small. And so we have a yo, and then a line, yi or one, another yo, and then yin. So that's what you see here. These two yaos side by side making a yo. There's a line underneath, and then there's a another yo, and then the yin coming in on the left and underneath. Another decomposition is to say that you get this character, Bang, which is almost never encountered as a standalone character. Um, but you form bang by having one of these yins uh, next to a yo. And then if you stack two of them on top of each other, which is what you have here, this is a different composition, a different way of decomposing or um, yeah, decomposing the same character, Duan. So depending upon how you think Duan is put together, you write it slightly differently. You can see over here, when it's done with a computer font, uh, it's hard to make that kind of distinction. This is a distinction that you'll only encounter when the character is being written by hand. When you just when you're using a digital font, the decision has already been made for you how the character is going to be written. All right. Now, I also said we were going to do some detective work. And so the funny thing is that I didn't have a slide 12 in the third lesson. Somehow I didn't have one. I went from 3.11 to 3.12. Um, now, oh, I should have mentioned that in the supplementary video, the slides are numbered 3S. And for reference, I'm also providing um, uh, the uh, the slides for the part of the main lecture that I'm referring to. And now I'm referring to the case of the missing slide. So um, it turns out that detective stories have been very, very popular throughout much of the history of Chinese literature. And uh, the word for a detective story in Chinese is koan, or koan as Westerners often pronounce it, gongan, which is the approximate uh, Mandarin pronunciation. Gongan is made up of two characters that are not part of the Four Great Vows class series, but we can recognize these components. I don't think we've done tree, yeah, but Gong An is a two-character word for a public case. The first part of the word means public. It means fair in the sense of if it's out in the open and everyone can see it, that's more likely to make it fair. And also can refer to making something public. On, the second part of the two-character word, refers to a law case or a case in general. It can also refer to a table or a desk. Um, now, the Chinese word for popular fiction, as in a novel or a short story, or uh, as opposed to serious fiction, or nonfiction, uh, is xiaoshuo, shown here. And if you put Kongan and xiaoshuo together, you get the genre of detective stories. And if you do a Google search on Gongan fiction, now Gongan, this is I have referred throughout this class series to pinyin, a way of representing Chinese uh, pronunciation using pinyin, an older and much less accurate, much less useful way of representing Chinese is with what's called the Wade-Giles system. So Wade-Giles is why people used to say Peking as opposed to Beijing. Beijing is much, much closer to how an actual Chinese person would pronounce the name of that city. Peking is, I don't know where the sounds in the Wade-Giles system came up with. There must have been some reasoning behind it. But anyway, Gong'an. This is Gong'an, or Koan, or Gong'an. So it's pretty close in this case. Anyway, Gong'an, or one of the ways you can tell Wade-Giles is if you have these funny apostrophes in the middle of words. Let me just change the Yeah, make it a little bit more. Gong'an, or crime case fiction, is a subgenre of Chinese crime fiction involving government magistrates who solve criminal cases. Gong'an fiction first appeared in the colloquial stories of the Song Dynasty. So the Song Dynasty was the one right after the Tang Dynasty. And interestingly, the Song Dynasty was when the first Zen koan collections appeared. So the first uh, Gong'an detective stories appeared at the same time that people were writing koan or Gong'an collections. Um, it's an interesting historical, probably not a coincidence. Now, all right, now I want to give a little bit more attention to some of the special characters that I went across, that went over very quickly in the in the main video. Here we have the in one of the uh, characters that was covered in the let's see, where can I find it? All the way back to the first slide to see the oh no, it's not even there, is it? Yeah, okay, sorry. Oh well, yeah, I'm gonna bring up the slide just so you can know which part of the lecture. So this is from this supplementary slide 3S8 is the same as the slide 313 in the original lecture. I'm going to bring up the oh yeah, here are my slides, and I'm going to look at no. Ah yes, here we go. Yeah, let's look at this slide. Dueling slideshows here. Oh yeah. So the character that is sometimes put at the beginning of each of the vows in the Four Great Vows. It's not officially part of the Four Great Vows, but sometimes people will say, even though sentient beings are without limit, I vow to save them. Even though the kleshas are without end, I vow to put an end to them. Even though the gates of the Dharma are without number, I vow to learn them. Even though the Buddha way is unsurpassed, sometimes it's said, there's nothing higher than it, I vow to attain it. Even though. So, in introducing this character, because it is directly relevant to the Four Great Vows, and it also shows up in the Heart Sutra in this line, which was mentioned in the lecture. And it's also part of the famous Zen teaching, Mind is Buddha. But it involves a component that is not otherwise found in the Four Great Vows. So since I'm introducing a new component, I wanted to also add another character, just so you should always have, it's best to have more than one instance of it's good to see the same component more than one context or instance. And so that's why we're doing this here. Okay, so this is another character that contains this component, Xian, seal, which is also the name of a special way of writing Chinese characters, which we're not going to talk about, seal script. This is composed of three components, G. Now G, the component G, or the character G, is also not included in the components that we've studied so far in the Four Great Vows class series, but it is made up of two components that we have discussed. Top component is Ren, the bottom component is Yi. This is, of course, just good old Ko and Xian, or seal. And this is this character is very prominent in the Kanzeon chant, or the Kanon Sutra. Enmei Juku Kanon Gyo. This is the Sino-Japanese pronunciation of these characters, which means the extend life 10 phrase Kanon Sutra. Enmei Juku Kanon Gyo. Namu Butsu Yo Butsu Uen Yo Butsu Uen, etc., etc. All right. Now, this component was introduced as part of the character Duan, and so this is since this is basically, you know, Kuan Yin's middle name, Quan Yin, Quan Yin Bosal's middle name, Kanzeon's middle name. In Chinese, it's pronounced Shi. In Japanese, it's Ze. In Korean, it's pronounced Se. And it's just a neon, 20, combined with yin, conceal. We've seen these two components before already. And when you put them together, you get Shi. And in the Heart Sutra, we say in the three worlds, all Buddhas rely on Prajnaparamita. This is the Sino-Korean pronunciation of those characters. This is the character that I want to focus on here. Like I said, it's part of Kuan Yin's name, Quan Yin Bosal's name. But Quan Yin Bosal has many names, like Avalokiteshvara. But Guan Zizai is a name that Avalokiteshvara has in the Heart Sutra. So none of the no, we've done Z. Have we done Z? Yeah, I'm getting confused between the Four Great Vows and the Heart Sutra, but this is just for comparison. Guan Qian, Guan Zizai, both names of Quan Yin Bosal. And the two characters that are being introduced in this slide are Ming, which means life, and Shi, which means world. And then there's another slide that also discusses Shi. Now we say, oh, Shi means world. Well, at least in modern Chinese, usually when people are talking about world in terms of the world that we live in terms of like the planet Earth, if you were to say, show me a map of the world, this two character combination is what people will refer to. So if you do a search on this character, you won't see maps of the world. If you do a Google search on this character, which can also mean world or realm, this is GA, which we will talk about next month. Neither one of these characters by themselves, if you do a Google image search on them, will you see maps of the world. But if you put them together, Shi J, and say, what does Shi J look like, Google? And this is the kind of thing you'll see. All right. Oh, yes. Now, where am I? I'm going to put myself down here in outer space. All right. So you can see the main reason why I wanted to come back to this slide was just to emphasize that in Kong, emptiness, the first component is found in the first vow. This is the thing that sentient beings do not have, which is a limit. And one of the components of that in red, which is hard to see because it's very compressed, is shui. And this is also in the Heart Sutra and in modern Mandarin Chinese. People usually are not talking about Buddhist philosophy when they use the word Kong. They're quite likely talking about the sky or possibly space or someone who is not very bright. Let's go. All right. And then, oh yeah, now this is nearing the end of this supplement. In this slide, I want to look at this part down here. Quan Yin looks at all sentient beings with the eyes of compassion. Now, this you'll often find people saying this is from the Lotus Sutra. And of course, the sentiment is in the Lotus Sutra, but this is not an actual direct quote from the Lotus Sutra. Um, and here's a good question. How do you know that? How do you know whether it's in the Lotus Sutra or not? Well, it's on the next slide. No, we don't want to jump that far ahead yet. Yeah. If you go to my blog, mindisbuddha.org, and in fact, I'll just go to the main page there. Let's see. Hopefully, this will. I don't want to look at the administrator interface. Oh yeah, here we go. Right now, this was a blog post that I made in December. This is a guide to the Lotus Sutra at C Beta. What is C Beta? C Beta is a Chinese Buddhist electronic text association. And once you know C Beta, then you can just say Google Lotus Sutra C Beta. Let's see. It might come up. This might come up. Yeah, I'm not sure what this is. Anyway, I already did this for you. So if you go to this blog post that I have, it's got the sections of the Lotus Sutra with what chapters is in each section and a direct link. And this is the direct link to the section of the Lotus Sutra that contains the chapter on Avalokiteshvara, where this, Avalokiteshvara views all sentient beings with the eyes of compassion. And one of the nice things when you first go to this, you will see you have the choice of looking at automatically generated translation in English. This is not a very good translation. If you want to find what we're looking for, which is eyes of compassion, or the eye of compassion, which is right here. Let me get rid of this junk. It's not really junk. Let me open this up again, get a fresh start. Move my face out of the way. Say we're gonna search this section of the Lotus Sutra for this 2-character phrase, which is where I grabbed from here. This is compassion. This is I, and it finds it, and it's down here. This. Let's see. If we say English. See if I can figure out. No, it's too. Yeah, the translation is too much. But we go back to Chinese. Go back to this search. Find this again. This is the section of the Lotus Sutra that I have on the next slide. All right, so now I'm going to go to back into the presentation mode here, slideshow. We're almost done. Now this up here in black. This is the direct link to this part of the Chinese text of the Lotus Sutra. It's Kumarajiva's translation that they've got there. This slide shows, in addition to showing the direct link to get there, it shows the Chinese text from that section that I found by looking for, yeah, that wasn't good. By looking for these two characters together. This is compassion and I. So I found this a section which this is the translation by Burton Watson, which I'm not going to go over. I'm just going to point out the parts that correspond to characters that we have covered or will cover in this class. World, which is she. Danger, which is the now part of fa now, which is the two character combination that makes up afflictions, danger, affliction. This green is compassion. Living beings here in yellow is you might notice that this character is a little bit different. That's there's it's something that you have to learn to put up with a little bit, is that characters do have different forms. In this case, this is a variation that depends upon what country you're in. So Korean people have a different preference. Korean Buddhists have a different definite preference for the character that I've been using in this class. This is the one that Chinese people actually prefer. And I think the Japanese Buddhists tend to use the same character that the Korean Buddhists do. This is a two character combination that we will look at next month, which means without measure or immeasurable. Let's see, and that's it. That's the supplementary video for the third lesson in the Four Great Vows class series. Thank you for, oh, just one last thing. I just noticed this on the slide. So in the original slides for the third lesson, the final slide was mislabeled. I had two. Not only did I not have a 3.12, I had two 3.22s. The final slide should have been numbered 3.23. So if you get a later version of my slides, that will be corrected, and you might be confused if you look at the video. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you the next class. Bye.